Here we are waiting for former President Trump and all the lawyers in the New York criminal trial to return to the courtroom to debate jury instructions. This after the defense rested its case with another day of contentious testimony from Robert Costello. Kerri Urbahn is our Fox News legal editor. She has been following the trial from outside the courtroom, and she joins us now. So the jury has been excused until next Tuesday, when we expect closing arguments, as well as maybe jury instructions, then deliberations as early as Wednesday. Give us the 30,000-foot level. Where do you think this case stands now?
You know, I heard Trey's comments right before I got on, and he was talking about the jury and that he has trust generally in juries. And interestingly, I was just in an Uber, and my Uber driver happened to be someone who drove Donald Trump around for years in the 90s. And he overheard me talking about the case to someone on the phone on the way here. And he said, "Is Donald Trump in trouble?" And, you know, I explained to him a little bit about the case, and his immediate reaction was, "I really like him. He's a very nice guy and a very smart businessman." And the reason I share that story is because we do talk a lot about New York City being largely Democrat as far as how people vote. But we have to remember that Donald Trump had a life here and was larger than life for many years before that. And there are people here in this town who continue to really like him. And so, you know, it only takes one. We've talked a lot about that. But I really don't know where the jury's going to land on this. And I do think it's possible we'll have a hung jury.
So right now we're waiting on this key meeting and waiting on the jury instructions from the judge. So what are we watching for there, Kerri, and what do we need to know about what we might be hearing less than an hour from now?
Yeah, this is a very critical meeting that is about to occur in front of the press, by the way, between the judge and the lawyers, where they're going to battle it out over how should the jury be instructed, how should the law be advised. And, you know, I have some concerns about this in general, because as I've sat in this courtroom for weeks, I'm beginning to feel like it's more of a guilty until proven innocent situation, other than the opposite way around. You know, let's think back through some of the actions that Judge Merchan has taken or not taken. That indictment, it's not specific. It's still unclear to many of us what exactly Donald Trump is being charged with or for. The judge easily could have sent that back to the prosecution and said, "Hey, send this back to me when it's a little more specific so we know exactly why we're here." He didn't. How about the gag order imposed against Donald Trump, but not Michael Cohen? That happened the entire time. Or the fact that he, frankly, has made it pretty difficult for someone like Bob Costello to get through his testimony. And then on top of it, letting the amount of superfluous information come in from Stormy Daniels, stuff that was not relevant at all. And he also has allowed into admission Michael Cohen's guilty plea to campaign finance violations. Even though he has said it can't be used as evidence of Donald Trump's guilt, it still puts a question mark in people's minds about that overall. And so because of the way this has gone, I expect this afternoon to be fairly contentious, and Donald Trump's lawyers really fighting to make sure that, you know, the context around the law is adequately explained to the jury once it goes there.
I love it. We had Occam's razor. Now we've got Uber's razor for how the trial might go. What do you think the upshot was of the Costello testimony?
The fact that he has continued to say and testify under oath, so he obviously knows the penalty if he were to lie under oath, having now done it before a grand jury, having done it before Congress, having done it today here. And, you know, he's spoken about this on TV as well, how much Michael Cohen told him that he had nothing on Donald Trump. And he told him that at a time when he was very vulnerable. He was allegedly suicidal. And Robert Costello was trying to find a way for him to get out of the mess that he was in. So if ever there was a time for someone to reveal that he had bad information on Donald Trump, it would have been then. But instead, it was the opposite. And Cohen told him repeatedly that he had nothing bad on him and that he had nothing to do with Stormy Daniels' payment. So that is the upshot. I think the downside was the tension between him and the judge. Now, understandably, Robert Costello was frustrated since the prosecution made it very difficult for him to get through even the most basic of testimony, including just talking about emails he was on or meetings he was a part of. You know, they would ask him a question, and you know, implying a certain answer, he would say, "No, that's not the case," and he would say, "Would you like me to explain why?" And they would say, "No." and the judge would just let that go through. So everyone sitting there was missing the context around those answers, and you can imagine for a witness how frustrating that must be. But how that plays with a jury, that kind of tense interaction, that can go sideways sometimes.
So, Kerri, you're standing outside the courthouse where we expect the former president to return shortly. The live look on our screen left, is outside Trump Tower here in New York City, where we are told we should expect to see the former president depart soon and make his way back to the courtroom. Kerri, as all of this happens, and now we wait the jury instructions this afternoon from the judge, you know, we've been looking at the Fox News polling that shows a growing number of respondents see the legal system treating the former president unfairly. And we know the question is also in there about whether people think something illegal happened versus something unethical but not illegal, nothing seriously wrong. A majority think that at a minimum something unethical happened but not illegal. So seeing where this trial is going now, it will be very interesting in the hours and days to come where the American public is with this, Kerri.
Yeah, and as I'm standing here, I'm looking at a number of signs across the park. One says, "Stop partisan conspiracy, stop political witch hunt, the deep state versus Donald Trump," and it goes on and on. So to your point, Sandra, I think people are frustrated by this, and I think they may be seeing through the prosecution's determination to conflate sleazy with illegal. But again, we're in a court of law. Elements need to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, at the end of the day, it's the prosecution's burden to bear. And which is why, again, I've been concerned about what I feel like is this flipping of standards. It's innocent until proven guilty, and the prosecution has to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt.
All right, Kerri, great to have you with us. 50 minutes now. Court gets back into session. We'll be following every twist and turn. Thanks, Kerri. Sandra?
Thank you, Kerri.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.